Okay, hello everyone. This is Dr. Neeraj with you. So today we will be looking at the sagittal section of head and neck region, which is also termed as hemisection of head and neck region. So here, before we start, you should know at least the important landmark. So this is the cranial end, and this is the towards the caudal side, right? So here you know cranial cavity is there, where actually our brain lies. Here you can see different bones. You can see this is the vertebral column, cervical part, of course. Here this hard structure is the cut section of your mandible. Here this is the hard palate, right? And you can see here the frontal bone, some part of the frontal bone. Here this is the sphenoidal bone, and the sphenoidal air sinus is also visible. Now before we look into the other soft part in this region, we need to understand why these bony landmarks are important. So first of all, we will be looking at the vertebral column. So you know we have the 7 cervical vertebra, and if you look in this specimen, you can see this bony part, this projected part is the second cervical vertebra, which is the axis, of course, and this is the odontite part of second cervical vertebra. Here this is the third cervical vertebra, this is fourth cervical, fifth, then this is the sixth, like that. And in between you can see even the intervertebral disc is also visible. So this is the disc between the second and the third vertebra, like that. Now why this is important? Because we know in this picture basically we will be looking mainly either for the nasal cavity, for the oral cavity, for the pharynx part, for the larynx, some part of the larynx, and so on. So we know that the pharynx, which is a tubular fibromuscular tube which extends from the base of your skull up to here, up to the lower part of the sixth cervical vertebra. So in order to understand the extent of that pharynx, which is a fibromuscular tube, you need to understand first where is the lower part of the sixth cervical vertebra. So this is one part. Second thing, if you look here, you know, you can see this is the epiglottis part, and here this cartilaginous part is nothing but the posterior lamina, or the broad part of the posterior aspect of your cricoid cartilage. So as we know, the pharynx, which extends from the base of your skull, from this is the body of the sphenoid up to here, up to the lower part of the cricoid cartilage, which correspond to the lower part of the sixth cervical vertebra over here. So this is the extent of pharynx, which is a fibromuscular tube extending from here, down here, down here, down here, either up to this level or this level. So these two bony landmarks you need to understand. Other than this pharynx, we know that below to this point, this pharynx is continuous in form of esophagus, and here also your larynx is continuous in form of your trachea. So this is one of the important landmark. So before we go into the pharynx part, we need to understand this. Okay, what are the other visible prominent feature which is there? So you know this is the nasal cavity. Here this big mass is the tongue part, right? So now I think we will be proceeding for the pharynx, which is our today's objective. So after this demonstration of the dissected prostracted part of the sagittal section of the head and neck, you will be able to define the extent of your pharynx. You will be able to define the different parts, of course, for the description only, how you can divide this pharynx into 3 parts, which is your nasopharynx, which is your oropharynx, and your laryngopharynx. Okay, so let's see how we can divide this pharynx into 3 different parts. What are the important features present in different part of the pharynx? Okay, here this is your base of skull, this is your hard palate, and here is your soft palate, and the tip over here is your uvula, right? So from base of your skull up to the lower part of your soft palate is your nasopharynx. As we know, this fibromuscular tube, which is running from this part up to the lower end of your cricoid cartilage, is not complete. Rather, anteriorly, this is communicating with 3 different cavities. Over here, it is communicating with the nose, so this part is termed as nasopharynx. Here, it will be communicating with the oral cavity proper, so oropharynx. And down here, if you see here, this will be communicating with the larynx, so that's why it is termed as the laryngopharynx, right? So from the base of skull up to the lower part of your soft palate is your nasopharynx. From this part up to the beginning, up to the tip of your epiglottis is your oropharynx part. This part of pharyngeal tube is your oropharynx, and from this tip of your epiglottis up to the lower part of your cricoid cartilage, which is communicating with your larynx, is termed as laryngopharynx. One more thing which I missed in the beginning is the presence of this hyoid bone over here, and the level of this hyoid bone is roughly as that of the tip of your epiglottis, which is over here. So either you can define the extent of laryngopharynx with the help of epiglottis or even with the help of this hyoid bone, right? So now we can divide this complete tube, which is incomplete anteriorly and communicating with the nasal cavity, oral cavity and the inlet of your larynx, into nasopharynx, oropharynx and the laryngopharynx, right? Now we will be looking for the important features present firstly in the nasopharyngeal part, then in the oral oropharyngeal part, then in the laryngopharyngeal part. So first of all, the most important feature which is visible in this nasopharyngeal part is this opening. This opening is termed as the auditory opening, or the opening of the cartilaginous part of your auditory tube. So this is the cartilaginous opening of the auditory tube, which basically connect this pharynx with the tympanic cavity. So that's why this tube is also known as pharyngeotympanic tube. If you look at the border of this opening, you can see very clearly this elevated part. This is termed as tubal elevation, and the mucosa which lies this elevated part is basically covering the gathering or the aggregated part of lymphoid tissue behind this mucosa, and that is termed as tubal tonsils. Now here you can see this is communicating with the nasal cavity, but on the posterior aspect towards the pharyngeal wall you can see one recess. This recess is termed as pharyngeal recess, or you can term it as a Roser-Muller fossa or the fissure also, right? So one important feature is the presence of this auditory opening of the auditory tube, which is tubal opening, cartilaginous part of the pharyngeotympanic tube, which is guarded superiorly, anteriorly and posteriorly by the tubal elevation, and under the mucosal lining of this tubal elevation, person is having the lymphoid aggregation that is termed as tubal tonsils. Posterior to that you have one fissure. This is pharyngeal fissure, or which is also known as Roser-Muller fossa. Now this is the roof of your nasopharynx. Here is the posterior wall of your nasopharynx, and even in the submucosal part of this part of pharynx there is a accumulation or the aggregation of the lymphoid tissue that is termed as pharyngeal tonsils or the adenoids also. The characteristic feature of the tonsillar tissue which is present in this area of pharynx over here, that is termed as pharyngeal tonsils, that they are basically prominent during first 5 or 6 years of life, and gradually these tonsillar tissues or the lymphoid aggregates gradually started decreasing in the size, and if it persists, this is a pathological condition also known as the adenoid, and it may cause the respiratory obstruction because of the enlargement in this area, right? Okay, now if you look in the same specimen here, this is the tubal opening. You can see one fold or arch which is extending from here up to your palate. So this is basically termed as salpingo-palatine arch over here, right? So here is the location of your salpingo-palatine arch. Similarly, on the posterior side, I will be just yes, I think it is now clearly visible. You can see another arch from this tubal opening up to the pharyngeal wall, on the lateral side of the pharyngeal wall, and this is termed as salpingopharyngeal fold, right? So these are two important folds which correspond to the same name muscles, which is here you can see the underlying muscle is the salpingopharyngeus, but here this fold basically is lying over the levator palati muscles over here, right? So this is the salpingo-palatine fold. Here this is salpingopharyngeus fold. Okay, so with these features, now let's move to the second part of this pharynx, which is your oropharynx. So the extent of oropharynx is from the soft palate up to the beginning of the epiglottis. So you can see between this area, this part is communicating with the oral cavity proper over here. Here this big mass of tissue is your tongue. This is the dorsum of tongue. Here is the base of tongue, right? So you can see the roof of this oral cavity is formed mainly by this bony part, roughly 3/4, and remaining posterior little bit it is formed by the muscular part. So here this is the basically hard palate, and here this part is termed as your soft palate. Okay. Now looking at, I will be just pulling these tongues so you can see some folds in this relation also. You can see one fold which is extending from your palate up to your tongue. So this is palatoglossal, from palate up to your tongue. So palatoglossal fold anterior, and here one more is there which is extending towards the pharyngeal wall. This is termed as from extending from palate up to your pharynx. So this is palatopharyngeal fold, and between this fossa is basically where your tonsil or the palatine tonsil lies. So this is the fossa for the palatine tonsil over here, right? So this is anterior fold, which is also termed as palatoglossal because this moves from the palate up to your tongue. This is palatopharyngeus fold because this is moving from palate up to your pharynx, right? And these basically correspond to the same named muscle because these lies on the same named muscle. And here this fossa is your tonsillar fossa, which basically lodges your palatine tonsil. So what we have seen one pharyngeal tonsil over here, we have seen tubal tonsil over here, we have seen the palatine tonsils over here, and we know, although it is not prominent in this specimen, but in some specimen you might be able to find even the accumulation or aggregation of the lymphoid tissue over here in the deepest part of the base of your tongue, and those are your lingual tonsils. So basically this 1, 2, 3 and 4, this set of tonsils, aggregated tonsil, basically gives a kind of protection also for the upper airway and the oral cavity, and those forms the Waldeyer rings. So if you remember your Waldeyer ring, this is how it is located. So here you have the palatine tonsil, then you have the tubal tonsil, then you have this is the pharyngeal tonsil, this is the tubal tonsil, here is the palatine tonsil, and then the lingual tonsil. So all these together form a Waldeyer ring over here, right? Okay, so now let's move to the next part of the pharynx, that is your laryngopharynx. So how it is extending? We know this is the lowermost part which extends from this part up to the lower part of your cricoid cartilage, or from the lower border of the sixth cervical vertebra, this plane. So, or you can say similarly that this is the location of your hyoid bone. So from this hyoid bone up to this level. So this is the location where this lowermost part of your pharynx, which is your laryngopharynx. This laryngopharynx is communicating with the laryngeal inlet over here, and this is the larynx, and below to this point this is continuous as your trachea. You can see even the tracheal rings visible in this specimen, very clearly visible in this specimen over here, right? Okay, so I will be just pulling this laryngeal inlet, so you can see on the lateral aspect of the inlet there is a fossa here. This is termed as pyriform fossa. Now this is basically, it is not very clearly visible in this specimen, but this depression is the pyriform fossa, and clinically also this pyriform fossa is very important. Reason is that this may lose some foreign body, even some food material also may get accumulated in this fossa, and during the foreign body removal there is one very related clinical importance also of this fossa, and that is why, because the mucosa which lies this area basically just below or just underneath the mucosa which is lining this pyriform fossa lies your internal laryngeal nerve. So in case, suppose during the foreign body extraction or any procedure in this region, if there is a damage to the internal laryngeal nerve, then the sensory sensation from your larynx may be lost, right? So you need to understand theoretically also this pyriform fossa sometime may be asked for your short note, may ask during the short note. So you need to remember that also, okay? So this is about the important aspect of your laryngopharynx. Okay, so just for the summarization, before I start with the next topic in this sagittal section, where I will be covering this tongue part and the palate part in short, that too related to the practical aspect only, I would like to summarize. So this is the sagittal section or the of the head and neck region, and there are certain bony landmarks, like here you have the hard palate, this is the mandible, location of your hyoid bone, you need to understand. Then you know this is the cervical part of your vertebral column. The easiest way is to identify the odontoid process, which is the part of your second cervical vertebra. Then you have third, fourth, fifth and sixth cervical vertebra, and in between you have these intervertebral discs. Now pharynx, which is a fibromuscular tube extending from base of skull up to the lower end of the cricoid cartilage or the lower border of the sixth cervical vertebra, which is communicating with the nasal, oral and the laryngeal cavity. And that's why for the anatomical description we can divide into nasopharynx, oropharynx and the laryngopharynx, and extend plus the important feature of naso, uro and the laryngopharynx we need to remember. That is all about the first part of the sagittal section of head and neck. In second part, I will be covering the palate and tongue. Thank you very much.